One opinion? Let's get some more. Welcome back from the Independent Women's Forum, Hadley Heath Manning, along with veteran Republican strategist Adam Goodman. Whew. Here we go, everybody. Buckle up a couple of minutes and let's talk about this. Adam, I'm coming to you as the strategist first. You heard what I said. You heard what a lot of people are saying already. And quite frankly, I've been in the media long enough. If you want to go after somebody, you don't run and hide. You go after them. Is this a good move by Trump?
Donald Trump is a negotiator. I see this as a negotiation. He thinks, and probably properly so, Ed, that he's generating a lot of the ratings out there, and I think he's trying to squeeze some of the those who are covering him for better coverage. But here's a guy who's completely outspoken, I mean, to say the least, and yet he's speaking out against those who don't speak always fondly of him. It's kind of the pot calling the kettle black. But I see this as a negotiation by Donald Trump to try to squeeze the journalism community for slightly better coverage.
All right, now let's take that tack, Hadley Heath, and let me come to you then, because Donald Trump has slipped in the polls since the debate. It's not what he's used to. He's used to always being up there and gaining a little bit. So, Hadley Heath, don't you think that maybe this is really just another calculated move by the Donald? Let's get out there in the public. Let me get on top. Let me get everybody talking about me once again, right?
Well, unfortunately for Mr. Trump, that's his number one talking point, that he is number one in the polls. If he loses that, he loses a lot, because his argument is that the people are demanding that he lead. When it comes to this decision not to go on Fox for the foreseeable future, of course, he's not putting a deadline on that, so he can be flexible. He can come back and do interviews when he thinks it benefits him. But I don't think it benefits him at all to say he's not going to engage with the media, he's not going to have interviews, he's not going to go on the air and speak for himself, because Fox has been giving him a lot of coverage. Even when he's not the one doing the talking, there are talking heads who will talk about Trump 24/7. And the coverage that he gets is something he can't completely control, but it's also not something that Fox can completely control. Their guests are going to have their own opinions. But just because he's leaving the network and not doing his own interviews with them certainly doesn't mean that they're going to stop talking about him.
Hadley Heath, you just said something in there. You said people demanding that he lead. Do you really believe that? Because I don't get the sense, and a lot of people don't, that anybody's demanding that he lead. All they want to do is hear him go after the opponent.
Well, that's not my opinion, but I would say it's Mr. Trump's number one talking point, that look at how well I'm doing in the polls. He constantly points to the polls, and he points to that as evidence that there is some kind of demand for his style of leadership or the particular issues that he says he can lead on. So if that goes away, that's going to be a big blow to the Trump campaign. All
right, now, Adam, I'm coming back to you then. Let's look at another side of this. Is it possible that if Donald Trump says, I'm not going to go on Fox, number one, that they're going to come after him even more and they may expose him, and that number two, as Dick Morris said, he's eventually going to have to buckle under and go on that network anyway because they're both good for each other?
Well, I'll tell you, Ed, what Donald Trump is really looking for right now, in my opinion, is a second act. The first act he did very, very well with. You say the opening reviews on this particular television show were very heady. But I think he's struggling now for what he does next. I mean, we all know about his views on immigration. We know about his willingness to confront the status quo and those he says represents that. We know he has a penchant for wanting to go after his fellow competitor.
Isn't that what he's struggling with, though? His issues right there.
It's not. What I'm saying is it's more than just the issues, Ed. He needs another act. He needs a second act that shows that he is more ready and maybe more willing to grapple with the issues and things he's going to confront as President of the United States. And I think it's that second act, you might say the second season of his television show, that is not quite clear even to him. And I think that's going to tell a lot about whether or not his numbers continue to come hurling to earth, or he's able to get into a hot air balloon and take flight all over.
You got to be careful, because that first show gets great ratings, but then after a while, you got to make sure that you hold that cume, you hold those numbers there, and Donald Trump is doing just that. I talk television there. We'll talk normal here in just a moment. Stick around. Hadley Heath Manning and Adam Goodman going to be right back. We turn to the political animal next. Dr. Ben Carson spinning like the proverbial top and trying to cover for his Muslim-centric comments a few days ago. But perhaps he should just let them lie and move on. After all, it seems there are plenty of people with money who have zero issue with what he said or how he said it. The political animal now takes center stage. For this and a whole lot more, Let's welcome back, told you we'd keep him again, not just Trump, there's more. Hadley Heath Manning from the Independent Women's Forum and veteran Republican strategist Adam Goodman. Hadley Heath, I'm going to begin with you on this one. Hey, Ben Carson says, basically, tell me all you want about my Muslim comments, but he says the money has been coming in so fast, it's hard even to keep up with it. Two-part question. A, do you believe him? And B, what does that tell us about his constituents?
Well, I believe him. My first response to his comments about whether or not the United States should have a Muslim president, I thought there are going to be some people who are really appalled at this and offended by this, and there are going to be other people who agree with him on this. And this is sort of the trend that we've seen in the primary. Same thing with several of the comments that Mr. Trump has made. They're the kind of comments that might alienate one part of the electorate, and yet they might really rile up and enthuse another part of the electorate. So I believe Dr. Carson when he says that he has gotten donations as a result of the things that he said.
Adam, you think it's a spike?
Hard to say. Certainly it was a clutter breaker. You know, he did go on to clarify his comments a little bit, Ed, and Hadley, I think in the last day or two, by saying he's not saying that no Muslim should or is capable or is incapable of serving as president. But I do think that he has hit a nerve, and the nerve goes beyond, frankly, religion. It goes, I think this has become a metaphor, especially for a lot of conservative Republicans, for the increasing concern over security coming, or lack of security, from the Middle East. And I think that the word Muslim attached to our foreign policy, those two ideas are hard to separate for a lot of Republicans, conservatives, even Americans. And I think that's where this took root. And I agree with Hadley. I think it's probably been a hell of a boost for Ben in terms of fundraising, but what he has to do is not lose the kind of character and image that he's projected from the very beginning about being not just an outsider, but fresh, reasonable, and down to earth.
All right, let's move on quickly to another candidate here. Marco Rubio leapfrogs Jeb Bush in the latest Florida presidential poll, now second to Donald Trump. Adam, you look at this bump. He's 19% to Trump's 31%. Now, do you expect this to stick around, or is this just a flash?
Well, look what has happened to all the front runners once they got to be the front runner. The focus suddenly starts to go directly to them, and it's hard to say, except I can tell you, coming from Florida, that Marco Rubio had a very good career as a member of the House and House Speaker here. He, I think, has shown himself not only passionate, but very together on the stump. His ability to show or demonstrate performance charisma makes him very attractive in and beyond the debate stage. So I think people are going to take a serious look at this. But I also believe that the departure of Walker from the field will ultimately help potentially some others, including a few governors, all of whom seem to have a very similar story about how they've done very well in leading their states to economic prosperity and better times.
I only got about 2 minutes left. I got to move on very quickly here. Hadley Heath, to you. Hillary Clinton is talking issues. My goodness, what a shock. We actually see a candidate doing that. Is she doing the right thing at this point, and does she have a chance basically to show up the GOP? She's talking issues while other people are talking about insults.
Well, I think part of the reason she's talking about issues is to try to redirect all of the attention that's been on her.
Oh, you had to bring that up, didn't you? That little redirection in there, didn't you? Away from those snidely little emails. Good for you.
Yes, well, the ongoing investigation and the recent developments in that server gate have been problematic for Clinton, and I'm sure she would rather have a discussion about, the changes she might make to the Affordable Care Act or her price controls for prescription drugs or the Keystone Pipeline. She'd rather talk about anything else, frankly, than suspicions surrounding her cybersecurity and her server and her.
Hadley Heath, how dare you think that Mrs. Clinton is trying to dodge? How dare you? We've only got a few seconds left here. A Clinton spokesman, by the way, has blasted Ed Klein's new book on Hillary, saying basically it's bull manure. Hadley Heath, do you think this is going to make any kind of a reaction whatsoever, or do you think that this book is just going to kind of fade?
Well, Hillary Clinton is similar to Donald Trump in one way. Most people have already made up their mind about whether or not they're favorable or unfavorable towards her. She doesn't have a name ID or name recognition problem. She has a trust problem. A lot of Americans distrust her. They don't believe that she's telling the truth about Servergate or Benghazi or the Clinton Foundation. So she has a trail of controversy that surrounds her wherever she goes. I don't think any one book is going to make the difference.
I don't think so as well. Unfortunately, we're all out of time. So, Adam, I'm going to have to start with you first next time on this. Adam Goodman, Hadley Heath Manning, want to thank you both for being here so much. We will talk again real soon. We're talking about candidates. Couple of things real quick. First, on a candidate, tell us who you think your choice for the GOP 2016 nominee is. Well, don't tell us who you think. Tell us who you know it's going to be. Go to newsmaxpolls.com. Get your vote in right now. Here's something else we want to give you. The Pope is in America right now for his historic visit to the United States. Would you like to learn more about Francis? This is the Pope for our time. And a special offer on this book. Go to newsmax.com/Pope. 800-203-7047. Go there right now. Learn more about the man who is captivating a lot of the news in America. We will continue to captivate here. The Hard Line will continue.